From Komando.com, it's your tech news today for Friday, July 27th. And coming up in just a bit, a handful of apps and extensions that have been caught collecting data on over 11 million people. I know we've heard that one before. Plus, Apple is changing chip makers for its iPhones, and it could slow down your gadget's download speed. Plus, Microsoft might finally have a solution for all those annoying reboots. All that and more in Tech News Today from the news desk at Komando.com. We start with another way that your privacy is being jeopardized. A security research for AdGuard has discovered a handful of browser extensions and apps that are spying on people, and we're talking about a lot of people here, over 11 million people. So no one is safe. Both Android and Apple fans are being targeted. The list of affected extensions and apps is too long to go into here, but they do have one thing in common. They all belong to a company named Big Star Labs. So here's what's happening. The products in question are collecting users' browser information, and it's unknown who the company is sharing their data with. Most privacy policies state that only non-personal data is collected, but let's face it, there is no such thing. It only takes someone with a little bit of know-how and minimal effort to find out who you are by tracking browsing history. Think about it. When you log into a website like Facebook or Twitter and go to your homepage, your username for that site shows up in the URL. Any amateur hacker would be able to easily crack that case. So that's why it's very important to follow a couple of safety precautions first. So first, read the privacy policy before installing anything on your gadget. Now, let's just be clear. I know you're not going to do that. So let's follow rule number 2. No matter what, don't ever install anything made by a developer that you don't trust. If you're not sure, read the app's reviews before installing it. Others who have had problems with that particular program will warn you about it in those reviews. We have more tech news just ahead, but right now, a quick thank you to our partners at Udemy.
If you know anything at all about me, you know I'd love a great podcast, like the one you're listening to right now. And not only do I get to host a couple of podcasts every week, I'm also a big podcast listener. Podcasts allow me to go deeper into subjects, which is why podcasts are incredible tools for not only entertainment, but also learning. So let me turn you on to Udemy. What's your passion? At Udemy, you can learn anything. And when I say anything, I'm telling you that Udemy offers more than 65,000 courses on, well, anything. And it's the largest space for online learning. It has something truly for everyone. You want to become a better investor, photographer, gardener, writer, or maybe teacher? How about web developer or something really different? Maybe tarot cards. You'll find it at Udemy. But what if you're an expert on something? Maybe you're an expert photographer or teacher. Then sign up as a Udemy instructor. You can earn money and sell your class right from their website.
Get started from anywhere, your smartphone, tablet, or computer. That's ude.my/today. Right now, get 90% off when you sign up for classes. That's ude.my/today.
More top tech news now. If you're an Apple fan, you're going to not like this one. It seems that the tech giant will be making huge changes to the chips in its upcoming line of iPhones. And the bad news is it could mean iPhones will download data slower than its rival Android gadgets. This would be a major blow to Apple in the never-ending Apple or Android debate. Why is this happening? Well, a large supplier of 4G chips used in smartphones said this week it doesn't expect to supply modems for upcoming iPhones. That chip maker is Qualcomm, and their financial chief said, and I quote, "We believe Apple intends to solely use competitors' modems rather than our modems in the next version of iPhone," unquote. Apple has been using Intel chips in some of its iPhones recently, but plenty of criticism. Consumers with the Intel chips have complained of limited network speeds. This move actually could even have more problems. If Apple only has one supplier for its chips, it might have trouble keeping up with demand, and you'll have to wait even longer for your new iPhone or iGadget. And nobody likes waiting. If Apple gets hammered with a lot of complaints, it may go back to Qualcomm, but who knows when and how long that will take. So have you been paying attention to the nightmare year that Facebook has been having? If so, this won't come as a big surprise. The social media giant lost over $100 billion in market value in just one day. So you heard me right. That's $100 billion with a B. The crash happened earlier this week when investors found out the company isn't doing as well as financially expected. The company's second quarter revenue fell short of projections. Shares dropped 19% on Thursday, which equals about $120 billion. CEO Mark Zuckerberg is said to have lost around $16 billion alone. This was truly an epic collapse. In fact, it's the largest one-day loss of a stock market valuation for any U.S. company ever. So let that sink in. And this isn't the first collapse of 2018 that Facebook has faced. When news of Cambridge Analytica broke back in March, Facebook stock took a previous tumble of about $36 billion. Investors aren't the only ones that are fleeing the company. Less people are signing up for new accounts than expected, and others are deleting their accounts in fear of having privacy jeopardized. So if you're tired of the turmoil, and maybe it seems that it might be a good idea to dump Facebook, we do have some tips for you over at Komando.com. Just search for how to delete your Facebook account. Hey, how many times have you been in the middle of a project and bang, your operating system decides to install updates? Well, that's ridiculously annoying, and it's been a problem for years that Microsoft has had with no luck figuring out what to do about it. Until now, possibly. Windows 10 will soon use a machine learning capability to stop updates from installing while a device is in use. Microsoft says it's using a predictive model that will find out the best time to restart the gadget, all with the help of machine learning. It doesn't stop there. The new feature also tries to predict if you've only left the device to maybe grab a cup of coffee or go to the bathroom for a few moments. It's been in test mode internationally, and Microsoft is seeing promising results. The new feature is available to Windows insiders now, so the company can get more feedback, and once all the bugs are worked out, it'll roll into everyone's Windows 10. All right, to keep the good news rolling, those expensive replacement smartphone screens might be a thing of the past. It's because Samsung has unveiled an OLED screen that it says is unbreakable, and the prototype was put through some pretty rigorous testing based on military standards to make sure it doesn't break. The newly designed screen was able to survive being dropped 26 times at a height of nearly 4 feet with no damage. Well, then they upped the ante a little bit and dropped it at a 6 feet height. Amazingly, it passed those drops unscathed. Also, it's received a stamp of approval from OSHA's official testing company, which is Underwriters Laboratory. They have certified the screen as unbreakable. So not only did the screen survive the drop test, but it also made it through some extreme weather testing. It came out unharmed after being placed in high temperatures of almost 160 degrees and lows of negative 25. The new technology is expected to eventually be used in tablets, in-car displays, portable game consoles, and mobile devices used by the military. This could be a game changer in the tech world for sure. And we've told you this before, but you know you have to be careful with cameras on your laptop. Hackers can get in, turn your camera on, and then watch you without you knowing. Well, here's another story to that fact. Now, smartphone cameras are sharing secrets, and it's because of a built-in flaw. Cameras built by Swan forgot to check one little piece of information, the viewer authorized user information, and that meant that your video could be seen by somebody using a simple trick that bypasses security. Each Swan camera uses a serial number to connect to its cloud service. Now, if a snooper changes that serial number, they could potentially open somebody else's camera. The cloud provider is OzVision, and they say they have up to 3 million users, which means 3 million possible victims. There might be manufacturers other than Swan that use OzVision. Swan says it sent out a patch, but OzVision hasn't said if they've fixed it yet. So whatever you do, and whoever built your camera, you have to do one thing to make sure that you are protected, which is to install and use every update that your camera system has. Here's another attack on your camera security. If you haven't updated your Microsoft Office, well, you might be at risk. Hackers are using some old flaws in Office to open up your computer so they can spy on you and steal files. The way this attack takes place is very complicated. So long story short, it all starts with a phishing scam. Email, supposedly environmental protection email, comes to you. And when you click on it, you're basically done. And this malware takes over your entire computer. It embeds itself and then puts itself to sleep for 10 minutes. Once it wakes up 10 minutes later, it starts the snooping. It sends the information it wants to the bad guys, and then, remarkably, it removes itself from the computer completely so nobody can find out where it came from. It's pretty smart and pretty scary at the same time. So for now, it looks like the message is hitting Russians, but these kind of attacks actually become international very quickly. And the best way to protect yourself is to make sure your programs are updated or patched, and make sure you do not click on any email that you get from somebody that you don't know. By the way, once you're finished listening to this podcast, do us a favor and give us a 5-star review and a couple of good words that helps more people find us on whatever podcast player that you're using. And finally, for today's Komando Kicker, this is pretty funny. A woman in California was scared and made a frantic call to police. She thought there was a masked man rummaging through her bathroom. Well, when officers arrived on the scene, they were shocked at what they found. The prowler was not a man. It turned out to be a raccoon. And the deputy even captured a funny photo of it sitting on the top of a toilet. The sheriff's office joked that the deputy was able to convince the little guy not to resist and politely leave. He was ultimately escorted out of the house unharmed and swore he would never return. And for more interesting facts, go to Komando.com and search for Komando Kicker. That's our tech news today, and special thanks to our partners at Udemy.